Welcome to episode 4 of the Local Lad podcast, where we dive deep into the stories and experiences of the remarkable individuals from our own community. Before today's podcast, we're thrilled to share some fantastic news with you about the Local Lad podcast. We've been working hard behind the scenes to enhance your listening experience, and we're excited to reveal a major update that is sure to keep you engaged and entertained. I'm excited to announce that we've had an official podcast sponsor, which is Appear-On Clothing. We teamed up with Appear-On to bring you top-notch golf clothing that perfectly blends style and comfort. As a token of our appreciation, Appear-On is offering all our valued viewers, followers and listeners an exclusive 50% off all orders just by using the code LOCAL15. When you're shopping for fantastic golf apparel and supporting local businesses, please visit www.appearon-clothing.com or follow them under the same handle, Appearon-clothing. Anyone who uses that code, it'll be greatly appreciated, and all of it will be coming back to the podcast, and it'll help us improve it all for you, the viewers, the followers, and the listeners. I want to extend a big thank you to Appear-On Clothing for believing in the podcast and supporting us on this exciting journey. Their commitment allows us to continue delivering quality content and engaging discussions to all of you. Stay tuned for incredible episodes and a range of captivating guests. In this episode, we welcome Dan Gregory. Dan, welcome.
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you very much for having me, mate.
He's got a very illustrious career as a barber. Well, what would you call your industry?
I mean, it depends what year we're talking. But 1 minute it's a stylist, next thing you're a groomer, next thing I just cut hair.
Okay,
essentially.
Sound. Dan's accolades are not short, but or inspiring. From gracing the pages of British GQ to earning the coveted title of the best barber by GQ magazine for 4 consecutive years, and best gentleman's hairdresser by ES magazine, Dan's craftsmanship and skill have made him a true influence in his industry. Dan's clients roster reads like a who's who, ranging from city executives to Hollywood and musical stars including Daniel Radcliffe, James McAvoy, Sam Clifton and David Guetta, the GOAT. His work has graced the pages of prestigious publications like Vanity Fair, Italian Vogue and Esquire UK. Dan has collaborated with esteemed brands in his industry such as Wilkinson Sword, American Crew, Chanel and Braun. Currently at the helm of the immensely successful YouTube and TikTok channel Regal Gentleman, Dan's influence extends far beyond his physical works. His passion for sharing knowledge and sharing ideas has ignited inspiration among countless hair professionals across the globe. Join us in this captivating next episode as we unravel the journey, insights and inspirations of the man who is redefining his industry in his own way right here on the Local Lad podcast. So Dan, good intro again.
That was a really good intro,
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
So, what was life like growing up for you?
It was pretty much like, I think, any normal Liverpool lad, to be fair. Grew up in Garston. Part council estate, part, homeowners in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Went to, regular primary school, secondary school. Both not, I think my secondary school isn't there anymore, it's now houses, shows me age a bit.
What
now.
secondary school?
I went to St John Almond.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, just it was pretty normal in that sense. We weren't rich by any means. We weren't like, I didn't think we were poor, but I think we were, if you know what I mean. If you look back if you go back to like back then, you see the street and you see what we were doing and stuff like that. We were just, we didn't have any phones, we didn't have social media. It was just like kicking about on the park with our little group of people, our group of mates, or just like living within the area. And it was, there wasn't much to say about it really. It was just a normal childhood, if you know what I mean. Nothing amazing. Wasn't given anything. Wasn't handed anything. It was all that kind of.
So that you would definitely, I think, as Scousers, I think a lot of the message that we're told is that you got to earn it. You got to work hard to earn it.
100%, yeah, definitely.
I think that's an ethos you find in a lot of Scousers.
Yeah, definitely. But there was no like silver spoon.
No.
At all. It was, if you wanted something, you had to go and get it. I mean, to be honest, most of the, like my mum worked in Tesco's for 30 odd years. My nan was a lollipop lady. My dad wasn't in my life. So it was like a single parent sort of household. I lived with my nan and granddad. to get into a slightly better school, should we say?
Yeah.
That's why that's from what I remember was living there. So it wasn't, yeah, there was, you know, I didn't get very good grades. Standard thing, really, you know what I mean? Just nothing overly exciting at all. Really, just very, very normal.
Yeah, and just to touch on the grades thing, I think there's a massive stigma about grades. I think there's a lot of pressure for kids about grades in school. I didn't do well in school. I did awful in school.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't get the grades that you're supposed to get in school. You're supposed to get grades.
Yeah, you are, yeah.
But I think, you know, I know Gary Neville touches on the examination. He's touched on it last week about the exam, how exams are done and that. He says it shouldn't be like that.
No.
It should just be like a portfolio.
100%.
You know?
I think if you look at grades, I struggled with grades because I struggle in an environment where I'm made to do something.
Yeah.
Like if I'm under immense pressure, and I've got to do a form, like fill in a form or whatever. I go to shit basically.
Yeah.
Like for example, I failed my theory driving test 5 times, but passed my practical with 2 minors. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I can't.
You're a practical person.
I'm a practical person, yeah. So I think if you look back at the grading system, if you base it on a portfolio of work and based on like your coursework, I probably would have got B's and C's, whereas I got D's, F's and U's. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the only thing I got an A in art, but that was based on a portfolio. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't based on a test. It was just like, I didn't sit there and draw like that plant, you know what I mean, or whatever. It was based on a portfolio, and I think that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I got a C in Spanish.
Yeah.
Because I got an A star in my coursework.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't really work out. No. But then that leads us on to the career. It's very impressive.
Thanks, man.
It's very impressive. You know,
you don't see it when you're in it.
No, but if you're looking at it from the outside, you know, I was looking for people to get on, and then obviously I know your channel, Regal Gentleman. Obviously, you're massive on TikTok. It's like, well, he's a scouser, and look what he's done. You know, it's really from the outside, it's superb. Thanks, you know, man. 2 decades. Yeah, you've been in it. Yeah. Take us back to the beginning. How did you get into it?
Very beginning. So, my first boss was a friend of, like, I was good mates with his brother growing up. Lived at the end of the street. I think my mum used to babysit him as a kid. And he just known the family for years, you know what I mean? And I've been going to his shop on and off growing up. And then one day I went in and I got a haircut from him. Can't remember the exact full story. Like, he might know it better. His name's Ian. He might know it better than I do. But from what I remember, I was about 14. And I remember he was asking me how I'm getting on in school or what do I want to do when I leave school. And I said, I don't know. I've no idea. And I said to him, just out of small talk, what GCSEs did you get to become a barber? And he said, none. And the minute I heard him say none, I think he saw my eyes light up and my ears prick up a little bit. And because I was always terrified that I'd have nothing. Like, I never knew what I wanted to do. Like, my work experience was in a computer warehouse, just basically packing old CPUs into cardboard boxes, essentially. I always said I wanted to be an electrical engineer, but I didn't actually know what that meant. It just sounded good for me to listen to other people, so I didn't ever really know what I wanted to do. And then when I spoke to Ian, and I think he saw my kind of, like, I'd say a little bit of excitement, should we say? I think he ended up asking me mum or my nan, or if I would like to do Saturdays there, and they were like, yeah. No, not a problem. It was like £15 a day, which, I mean, to me and my mate, I was rich. You know what I mean? That was our sort of Saturday night sorted then, you know. WKD for a pound. You know, it was all out of date, like, but it was still only £1. Yeah. And we, I ended up going there and working from on Saturdays, and then I didn't like it at first because going into school, especially the school I was in, I used to get ripped so much. Like, so much. Like, all the year 8s and 9s, you couldn't actually say nothing back to because they all had an older brother who was much harder than me. He was like a year older. But, like, at that age, you know, you take things so personally, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, all the lads used to come in there to get the haircuts, and it was a very popular, it still is a very popular barbershop. Yeah. But I kind of did it just because it was fun, you know what I mean? And then did that all the way through that year 11, doing Saturdays, doing half terms. And I just started really enjoying it. And there was a couple of lads who worked there who, like, were quite inspiring to me because they were a bit of like Jack the Lads almost, you know what I mean? Like, they were very masculine, even though I was getting called all sorts of homophobic names, should we say, you know? Yeah. And it was like, they were very masculine, so I was thinking, well, that's, you know, it's don't know I'm getting called this when these lads are like, you know, they've got like really hot girlfriend and
Easy targets.
oh yeah, 100%, yeah. And I was never really a fighting kind of lad anyway. Do you know what I mean? And I just kind of zoned in on them a little bit because they were kind of like they were about 5 or 7 or something years older than me. They all went. One of the lads went to my school as well, so I'd seen where he could progress to. And then I got offered the apprenticeship. And as soon as I got offered the apprenticeship, though, that was kind of like my school done. I was like, right, I'm not bothering that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not in that way. I was still present, but I had a job. I had a job at the end of it.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, the careers advisor, even though I'd already got my job, when we had this thing where they like brought a careers advisor in, and they went, we had to fill in this form on a computer, and then it printed out the sheet of what your job will be, and mine was fisherman. How the hell they got that, I don't know. And the funny thing, the ironic thing is I can't even swim that well. So yeah, it was just like, why am I going to be a fisherman? But that was what they were doing. It was all about either being a plumber or going to uni. Yeah. Plumbers made £400 a week as an apprentice. Go and be a plumber, or go to university.
Get a degree.
No, and the thing was, my job, even probably not to this day, but up until maybe 10 years ago, ours was always a fallback. Oh, you failed at this, you didn't enjoy uni, you didn't like doing this. You can always cut hair. You know,
people who come out of prison.
Exactly.
That's the stigma.
That's the stigma of it. Well, it was the stigma.
It was the stigma, yeah.
I don't know if it's the same.
No, it's not now. But that was the stigma of being a bar. It wasn't an illusion. It was you must have been in prison.
Yeah. Wolf of Wall Street, the film, when Leonardo DiCaprio is just starting off. The scene with Matthew McConaughey, I think, where he does the bang on the chest.
Yeah.
He asks what his wife does. He goes, she cuts hair, and it's like it wasn't like it was like almost like. Oh, she only cuts it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like she's a hairdresser. She's transforming people's lives. You know, which essentially most hairdressers do. You know, if you see people who've had cancer and things like that, you know, a hairdresser's a really big part of that journey.
Massive.
And it's a really important. We are really important people in a society. We're not like trying to sound big-headed, but we are. If you look at the way society is,
it's such a perfectionist job.
Yeah, it is, but it's also a place where people congregate and make friendships and talk. You know, men talk. You know what I mean? But going off topic, but yeah, I got offered the apprenticeship, and I did my apprenticeship pretty quickly because I'd subconsciously watched the lads cutting hair, so I picked it up really quickly to the point where I was like teaching people in college. So, like I was teaching clipper work in college to my students, like my own students. Well, no, not even me, but like the people who I was in college with, as in like students. So I was alongside. I was teaching them clipper work, and I mean, I can't name the college because I don't even think it's there actually anymore. But like to the point where like our teacher couldn't even do the haircut that she was trying to teach us. It was at that point, you know what I mean? But you know, that's just the way things are, right? And then did college and then took the job on full time, and I just picked it up really quickly. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's I think I've always been. If I get obsessed about something, I'll throw everything in. Do you know what I mean? And that was kind of that was kind of how it started. Probably that was when I was until about. I worked in that shop until I was 18, I think. Yeah. And then I moved on, yeah.
So, unbelievable. It's such a good backstory that, you know...
Rags to riches, mate. No,
it's more, joking. You know, you found, like you said, you got that spark, that feeling in your belly that you knew it was...
Yeah.
It was your instinct telling you, you know, that you need to really have a go at this and...
Yeah, definitely.
It's you know, if anyone's going to take anything from that, it's if you get a good feeling about something, follow it.
But I think everyone's got that though. I think everyone's got something they're good at. Like Cristiano Ronaldo, incredible footballer, can't cut hair. Yeah. He can't brick. He can't do what a bricky does. Yeah. He can't. You know, there's loads of things he can't do. Yeah. But he does one thing really well. Yeah. Because that's what he was meant to do. Yeah. And I feel like that's the same if you look at like people who turn small tiny businesses into like Amazon, Jeff Bezos. Yeah. That was his thing. Yeah. He turned it into a phenomenally successful company, billionaire. But I think everyone's got something that they're good at, and I just don't feel the educational system pushes you towards what you want to do.
Couldn't agree
more. I feel like it makes you do curriculum and set things, and then you got into the world at 18. You're making decisions at 18 for the rest of your life. Yeah. That you and then some family can be, some families want you to do X, Y, and Z, and if you don't want to do that, you're always going to feel like a disappointment. Yeah. So I think if you've got that, if you know what it is you want to do, whether it's a hobby that you can turn into a career, I think you do have to follow it. But I think there needs to be more more help around that though.
Yeah,
Personally, looking
there's
back
been more
now,
work experience.
100%, without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt.
So going back onto you,
Yes.
the pivotal moments in your career that propelled you to where you are today.
Pivotal moments.
Yeah. What was it?
Um,
When did you realise, all right, I'm getting recognised, or I'm, you know,
I think it was probably. There's been a few, mate. There's been a few. There hasn't just been one moment,
it's all
you know.
happened then?
Yeah, there hasn't just been one moment. I mean, obviously lately since the YouTube and the TikTok stuff, that's obviously, like, you know, you get recognised now because so many people watch them. But I'd say pivotal moment. I'd say the first one was when I moved to London. You know, I went from like living in Garston to working in Mayfair, and that was just like bizarre. Like seeing Rolls Royces every day and like, you know, Aston Martins and Bentleys and all that.
Did you realise what Mayfair was before you moved?
No.
So it was an eye opener.
It was an eye opener, yeah, complete eye opener. I knew of it just from films, but I didn't know anything about it at all. And I got offered this job, and like I went from charging £11.50 on the Saturday to then the Monday charging 65 quid. And but the thing is though, I felt like I didn't deserve to be there half the time, because I was working with people who would, you know, I thought coming from Liverpool, cutting hair in Liverpool, I didn't think I'd be anywhere near as good as the London barbers, because, you know, everyone, maybe not so much now because of the way the world is, but back then, before social media and all that, it was just MySpace. That's how I got found, actually. Was on MySpace. The girl, the receptionist, found my. Oh no! In fact, what happened was, I got talking to somebody who was from London, and went to the refinery. It was called the refinery, and went there for a haircut, and gave my MySpace to the receptionist, and then that's how they got in touch with me. They called the shop, which was quite funny. I remember my mate Jay. He rang me. I was off. It was on my day off, and he rang me. He went, "Hey lad, some posh bird's just been ringing for you, asking if you want a job." I was like, "What?" He went, "Yeah, she's some posh bird in London. She wants to know if you want a job." And I was like, "Oh right, okay, yeah. What's the number?" And so yeah, that was probably the most pivotal moment when I went down there, done the trade test, and I got off the job on the spot, and like the salary was double. And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, and I literally moved down 2 weeks later. You know what I mean? I'd say that's when I'd say maybe a year in, that's when I felt like I was good enough. Do you know what I mean? But I'd say that was a pivotal moment, because I was always passionate. I was always really wanting to be. I always wanted to be the best in where I worked. Not in like a competitive way, like a friendly, like sort of, what do you call it, like friendly competition in a sense. You know what I mean? Like where it's, I'd want to be busier than him, but I wouldn't go over him to get the client, just to kind of, I wouldn't screw him over basically. It's like friendly competition almost. And I think when I got people, like when I got a fully booked day in there, that was when I felt like, okay, that was a pivotal moment personally for me. I don't know whether it was a pivotal moment in my career, but it was a pivotal moment to me.
Yeah. How do you go to Mayfair and then get fully booked? Not from bit. Do you get what I mean?
Do you want to know how?
Come on.
So I never felt good enough, right? It's a common theme in my life, right? Where I've never felt good enough. You know what I mean? I'd never felt good enough in school. Never felt good enough at home. And what happened was, when I moved there, I felt like I was just this young scally, right? Because I was a scally who went from wearing trackies to jeans. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if anyone's my age listening, right? There was a transitional moment in like 2000, 2001 where scallies, when you went to like the Spice Boy era, you went from wearing trackies to jeans. Yeah. That was the pivotal moment for me in my life. Mm-hmm. But at that point, like, I felt like I was just a scally, and I felt like I was a fraud. Do you know what I mean? I felt like I didn't deserve to be there. Do you know what I mean? Even though I'd been offered the job and everything else. And what happened was, I wanted people to know I knew what I was doing. So what I'd do is I would explain the haircut to them during the haircut. So when I had someone who was really posh and someone I felt intimidated by, because they were very well-to-do and they were in a suit and they on the phone on the Blackberries and, you know, they're not paying attention to you or whatever, I picked up techniques that no one else I noticed around me was using. So I use the texture razor quite a lot in my work, right? Which is it's a very in-your-face tool, and it's a good talking point, right? Mm-hmm. So I'd speak to them. I'd find out what they wanted. I'd obviously chat, because I think being a Scouser, we're always chatty, right? And I'd kind of explain what I was going to do before I did it. Basically everything I'm doing now. And I'd explain why I'm doing it to the clients. The client kind of understood what I was doing. And then I'd move on to I'd explain why I'm point cutting into the hair. So point cutting, if no one knows what it is, it's where you, as you pick the hair up between your fingers, you cut into it on roughly a 45 degree angle, and you don't cut yourself, which is a bonus. And not a lot of people were doing that. So I'd explain the reason why I was doing what I was doing, and then I'd explain the texturizer, and I'd show them why it worked. And it was like in your face. Like I'll show them like, this will keep your hair standing up, and I'll do it with just water. Watch, bang, 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 up, the hair standing up. So imagine you put your product in, it's going to work. And it sold. Basically, I wanted people to know that I knew what I was doing.
Good communication.
Yeah, but because I didn't feel good enough. So it was my insecurity that led me to being fully booked, because I felt so insecure about being there and not fitting in and not being valued in such a high value place, that I overcompensated, essentially.
I think a lot of lads especially will probably share what you just said then. Because I think a lot of lads, I think imposter syndrome.
Oh, massively, yeah.
I think it's massive in male.
I've still got it though.
But you never lose it.
No, you don't, do you?
You never lose it.
No.
You never lose imposter syndrome as big as you get, or, you know, I feel more comfortable in front of a camera now because this is episode 4. But I still have that imposter syndrome going, nah, this podcast is shite, you know what I mean?
Overthinking what you're saying.
But then when people message you going, that podcast is really good, or, you know, I really learn from that, you go, actually, I'm actually doing all right. Stop being hard on yourself.
I know, that's it. But yeah, I think if you are that type of person who cares about what you do,
it's passion.
You're the biggest. You are your own biggest critic, though, aren't you? Yeah, exactly.
And if you want to succeed, you got to be your worst critic.
100%. But yeah, that's how I went fully booked in Mayfair. It was just my own insecurity, basically. Yeah.
So from being fully booked, then GQ magazine calls you the best barber for 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
It's an incredible feat. Not many barbers can say that.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on the techniques and the philosophies that really contributed to that consistent success?
I think I just really, really care about the job. You know what I mean? I care about, like, I think there's a load of different factors that can contribute to consistency. You know what I mean? I think one is that I'm still really passionate about it. I love meeting new people. So it's like I like to get to know the person who's in my chair. I think everyone has a fascinating story. I feel like you could get any human being on a podcast and you'd learn something from them. Yeah, they could work in any job. They could be from any part of the world, and you'd learn something from them. You know, and the GQ thing came about was just, it was a secret shopper. It was just a journalist from GQ. I'd obviously, because I was doing some bits with Wilkinson Sword at the time, and I was getting and a lot of magazines, because working in the refinery, you used to get a lot of journalists coming in, mainly because they got free haircuts. But you know, they'd write a piece about us, and I was, because I was young, and I was obviously really passionate and stuff. They used to throw me into it quite a lot. You know what I mean? They said, we'll get down on this, and I think because I was getting loads of little quotes in magazines, and I was getting I'd been asked to be a judge for a couple of grooming awards and stuff like that. I think my name was just getting pushed about a little bit. Yeah. I'd say maybe within the Condé Nast office. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then this guy called Keith came in, and I know he sent his friend in. And I did a haircut and a shave on him. I didn't know who he was. It doesn't matter to me who they are. I just did the same service. The same service stays. Whatever you read is what you get. You know what I mean? With everybody, whether it's 7 a.m. to 9 p.m, it's the same thing, right? And this guy came in, gave him a haircut, gave him a shave, chatting away to him. Fascinating man. I think he was a pilot or something. But and then he just, oh, by the way, I just want to let you know, I've been sent in by a guy called Keith at GQ magazine. He's doing an article on London's best barbers, and I'm going to go back and tell him that you are the best barber that I've ever had. So hopefully you'll be in there. I said, oh, great. And then that was it. And then every year I just haven't been knocked off. I'm just still in there. But yeah, that was kind of how it happened. But I think the key is I care about what I do. I genuinely enjoy the job. It is my hobby and my job. So we've all gone through moments where you hate your job. Don't get me wrong. I've gone through many a moments where I don't like it. But it's not the job that I don't like. It's either the situation that I'm in, or the people I'm surrounded by, or just maybe what's in my head. You know what I mean? My own head. You know, but I've always loved cutting hair, and I think that's why I am consistent is for that reason. Do you know what I mean? No matter if I've cut your hair for 20 years, I'd still treat you like you're the new client. In my head, you're my boss. Yeah. So because you are my boss, I'm gonna treat you as best I can. I'm gonna give you the service that you provide. Do you know what I mean? All right, we all have off days, mate, but I try and have as little off days as I possibly can. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I think one thing I'm taking so far is, you took a massive leap to go down to Mayfair. You didn't know. You went in blind,
Massively.
I don't, sometimes I don't think that's a bad thing. I think a lot of people do a lot of research into something and then get themselves wound up on that idea of going places.
Yeah.
You know, so if anyone can take something from it, it's to just take a leap sometimes. And
Definitely, mate.
what's the worst that happen? You can say. I think a lot of people are scared of disappointing people or disappointing themselves.
Scared of failure.
Failure. That's failure. They're scared of failing, and they're scared of what people think about them being a failure. Whereas they shouldn't be. I'd have a lot more respect for someone if they went to go and do something, but then it didn't work out, and they went, you know what, it didn't work out. I'd shake their hand and go, well done for trying.
Well, do you know what they say? Like, you know, I know there's a lot of cheesy, cliche kind of comments stuff, but you know when they say like, it's not a loss, it's a lesson.
Yeah.
I think I don't know anybody who's been successful who hasn't failed.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, I mean, I've failed. You know what I mean? I have genuinely failed. I've definitely felt like a failure at times. Do you know what I mean? I've lost competitions that I went for, and I felt like a failure, even though it just wasn't my time to do it. I beat myself up so much. And like, I opened up a shop in the West End in 2013. I had that for 5 years, and when I give you a brief sort of description, like or a brief sort of understanding of what it was. It was like a men's grooming salon, when men's grooming was like the key word. I opened it with my auntie and uncle. And my uncle does like male aesthetics as well. So he was like, I believe we were the first male grooming salon that offered male aesthetics. So Botox, sweat reduction, and fillers, right? That never really went to plan, that side of it, right? Because it was meant to be the money maker. That was the thing that was going to make us over millions and millions of pounds a year based on our projection. Just never worked out. And then 5 years down the line, I just didn't enjoy being a business owner of that level. I hate a strong word, but I disliked managing people. I disliked kind of me just turning up and other people not as fully, which I understand. They're an employee. It's my business. It's my baby. It keeps me awake at night. It makes me cry. I love it, you know. Yeah. Whereas other people just treat it like a job, and that's totally fine. Yeah. But I think I expected everyone to be like me. You know, like the famous song, "We all wish for a team of Carragers." Yeah. You're never going to get it, are you? No. You're going to get one person who's this, one person who's that, one person that. And that's what I didn't value, and I didn't see it. So I closed the business down. Loads of people in the industry, my God, what happened to Dan's shop? What happens to Dan's shop? Magazine, I had a couple of magazines going, what happens to the shop, mate? Do you want to talk about it? Like, you know, can you give us any advice? Why did you close it down? What happened? And it wasn't, we weren't financially struggling. Just didn't want to extend the lease. I just couldn't extend the lease because I was miserable. As simple as that. Owning a business like that was not for me. But I felt like the biggest failure. I felt embarrassed. I remember going to a show in October. I closed it in the August. And I'm going to a show in October, and I was just thinking everyone was looking at me. Everyone's going, oh my God, there's that guy who had a shop in the West End. Look, it failed. He's a joke, you know. No one gives a shit about you. No one actually thinks about you. No one cares. No. You think everyone cares, but nobody is thinking about you. I guarantee when we leave here, you might be thinking of me for half an hour, but I guarantee when you get home at 8 o'clock tonight, you won't be thinking of me. But I might be thinking of me. Do you know what I mean? It's mad. Like, no one actually genuinely. You can't be arrogant enough to think everyone's thinking of you all the time. But I went with this terrible mindset that I failed, and I didn't. It was the best decision I ever made for my career. The best decision, because YouTube wouldn't have happened if I didn't do it. Because I was mentally prepared for it. Because I was working 7 days a week at 2 kids at home at the time. I wasn't mentally prepared for it. You know what I mean? I wasn't ready for that leap. Yeah. And I had to. I basically, it wasn't a failure, but in everyone else's eyes, it was. But and I felt like it to me for years after. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So from that, if you look at your client list, you know, it features very prominent figures and many celebs. Yeah. I wanted to kind of go into that and ask an experience you've had with any of them figures or celebrities, which has like left a lasting memory with you.
Lasting memory.
The first one which comes in your head, you know, one which really sticks in your head, which, you know.
I'd say the one that I'd say, God, there's been loads though. There's been genuinely loads. I'd say one is because I'd probably say Daniel Radcliffe, because he's a mate as well, though he's not just a client now. I mean, I still, when we're working together, I am the you know, he's the talent, I'm the groomer, you know. But outside of that, we've got a really good relationship as well. And there's been some incredible moments with him that, as famous as that guy is, he's the most down-to-earth fella I've ever met. To the point where, like, you know, we've had some really honest conversations together. I'm not going to say some of the conversations, but we've had some really honest conversations, right? To the point where you just feel like there's a moment when it stands out. I was in Copenhagen, and we'd just been doing the premiere. It was just me and him. We were just back. Everyone had kind of gone, and I was the last person to leave his hotel room, and I remember having a conversation about money, because obviously everyone knows he's very rich, right? You wouldn't think it, but everyone knows he is. Yeah. And I remember thinking about how money makes no difference at all to the person who you are. Money does change people, but to the core, it doesn't change your core. And I just remember how humble he was about it, about the money scenario, because it's always a conversation you never really get to have a chance to talk to somebody about. There's not many, you don't ever really meet many really wealthy people you can have an honest money conversation with, because they always think there's always an ulterior motive to find out why they're so rich. And I just remember how humble Dan was, and I said to him, obviously, the Harry Potter fame is massive, it always will be, and I remember saying, does it bother you? Does it bother you constantly being referred to as Harry Potter all the time? He said, without Harry Potter, I wouldn't have this. I said, but, I wouldn't have this lifestyle, I wouldn't have what I've got if it wasn't for Harry Potter. So why should I ever turn me back on Harry Potter? Why would I ever want to do that? It's my childhood. I grew up with it. But it's got me to where I am to this. It's got me, everything I've got now is because of that. And I think it was just the humbling experience of him saying that. And I'm never going to get to the degree of fame or money that he's got. But I thought it did make me think, well, why should I ever change if that ever happens? Why should I forget the main roots of where I started off from? Do you know what I mean? If anything ever happened, because I always manifested myself to be well known. I always remember sitting there. It's really tacky, this, man. I don't even know why I'm saying this, but I may as well share it. But I remember sitting on the tube a few times, right, and pretending that I was famous. And I was sitting there like this guy was looking at me. You know what I am. And it's not because I was trying to be an arrogant fucker. It was just because I wanted people to know who I was for being good at what I did. That was all. It wasn't I didn't want to go on Love Island to become famous off doing nothing. I wanted to be well known for doing something good at my job. And I used to do that sometimes. I'm fucking mental, mate. My head's mental sometimes, but I did that, right? And then all of a sudden it happens, and I go in. I went for dinner the other night, and about 4 people stopped me and was chatting to me, and one guy wanted a photo on the train with me. I feel like you do if you want it. You can, I know the word manifest is thrown around a lot, but I think you do that sometimes, But it was the humbleness of Dan that was a really pivotal moment about working with celebrities, because I thought, well, if I just treat everyone like they're all Dan, then I'll see them as a human more than I'll see them as Chris Hemsworth, or I'll see them as The Rock, or I'll see them as David Guetta, or I'll see them as that celebrity that everyone else tells you about. I'll go in and I'll be like, right, he's just him or she's just her, and I'll be normal with them. And I think that's why I got so many celebrities on the back of that, because I never went in looking for photographs. I don't take photos of anybody I ever work with. I never ask for selfies. I've got loads of photos on my phone of when we've been away with them or we've been traveling, but they're just photos that we've got as a team. But I'd never share locations. I don't even need to sign an NDA anymore, because everybody knows I'm not going to share where I am. I never post a location of if I'm working with somebody, because I've seen it happen before. I've seen people lose jobs over the fact that they'd rather get famous off telling someone they're working with a celebrity than actually taking into account you're doing a job there. You post about it that night, but not at the time. You know what I mean? I don't want fame because I cut a celebrity's hair. You
value the relationship more than the
100%.
But that goes back to how that's so pure of you to do that.
Yeah.
Because like you're saying, a lot of people will just jump on the bandwagon saying, "Oh well, I'm cutting his hair. Look where I am. I'm with him." Selfie, 100%. And then that will make as a client. You got to, like you say, you got to think of them as they're your client. They feel so uncomfortable.
100%. You wouldn't feel comfortable if they get photographed every single day of their life. Right, every single day of their life, they are photographed by somebody hiding behind a car, a tree, a fan in a cafe. You're within their team, right? You're in their circle. You're sitting down having breakfast with them. Why would you want to take a photograph of them?
You invade. That's their privacy. You invade. You don't want to be one invading it as well.
You don't, and people of that level take their privacy. They admire it highly. They want that.
Follow around paparazzi loads.
100%.
They must that clicking noise of the camera must get on there.
100%. I would imagine so.
Yeah.
I'd say that's the biggest. That was one of the biggest pivotal, like the most sort of humbling experience I ever had of working with a celebrity, was because Dan is world famous. You know what I mean? Everybody knows what he looks like. You know what I mean? And
a lad my age and Matty behind the camera his age. You know, Harry Potter would have been massive.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, I remember my mum reading me the Harry Potter books, and then we went to go and watch it. You know, and obviously he was the star.
Yeah, 100%. He still is well known. Yeah, to this day. You know what I mean? And you know,
he's well known for other films he's done as well. You know, he's a, like you say, it's so nice to hear. You know, someone of that stature of fame still stays so humble.
100%. Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
that's lovely to hear. Your work's obviously, like you said, you work with them celebrities, and it's been a lot of your work's been published. In some of the world's biggest magazines, for the style and for the fashion that it brings.
Yeah,
we had a conversation before we come to the studio, and you said, you know, I don't see myself as being creative.
Yeah.
How can one who does a job like you and then get recognised for being creative in these magazines say that? Is that the imposter syndrome again?
Yeah, imposter syndrome. Yeah, definitely. I don't look at I look at other people in my industry and I think, wow, like you've created something absolutely spectacular.
Just to butt in, you always say to people as well, go and look at other people cutting hair.
Yeah, 100%.
Don't just watch me.
Yeah, 100%. Anybody who's starting off in this industry, or anyone in any job really, I guess, don't ever just solely rely on one person's opinion and one person's view of doing whatever they do. Because I do my thing a certain way, there's one guy over there does his thing a certain way, the hairdresser down the road does her thing a different way, or his thing a different way. You've got to broaden your sort of mind on if you want to be good at something. Like, all I am is an accumulation of about 8 to 10 barbers and hairdressers that I've become a bit of a hybrid of. And then other things, and other people I've watched. I mean, mate, you don't even have to go to college or uni. You can just watch YouTube. You can learn everything you want to learn off YouTube nowadays.
That's me digesting.
It's so true, isn't it? You can learn literally everything. And I think but you can't just learn off one person. You've got to learn that I do things like a certain way that someone else does a different way, and they might find their method is better than my method. Nothing wrong with that. Everyone, you know, if you came to me and you were a barber and you solely cut hair with your feet, but you gave me a great haircut, am I to judge you for how you did it?
No.
Might be weird. It might be standing on your hands. It might be weird, but you still did it, and you did exactly what I wanted. So how am I to judge you?
Yeah, your head would fall off.
Yeah, probably, mate. But there might be someone out there who does it. You never know. Yeah, I'm sure there is in this world. But you know what I mean? It's like you've got to kind of like look at other people. But I don't feel creative. I don't feel like a create. I don't feel like people look at me and go like, you're inspiring trends. I just don't feel it. But maybe I am. I don't know. But I don't feel it in myself.
You do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then that, like you says, that term imposter syndrome.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah, it's
100%. Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mad. It's so mad.
Yeah.
But you obviously, we're talking about you. So someone who's, you know, I only met you today, and you know, we had a few conversations before this. You must be thinking, like, must be me talking about this to you.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah. But I enjoy doing it because it's nice. Like, it's like I said at the start, I wish I was more American so I could talk about myself more.
Yeah.
Because I think Brits just aren't like that. I think we're all very much like, if someone said, I remember the funny thing, like, you know, you always get people walking in the barbers, and I'm sure every barber and hairdresser can relate to this, and they'd sit down in your chair and they go, you any good? And you're not going to go, yeah, mate, I'm amazing, are you? You're going to go, well, I think I am, and, you know, as far as I know, I'm busy, so I am. If we all just went, yeah, I'm really good at what I do, mate, yeah, you'd be classed as arrogant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'd do a joke. I'd say, well, if I did this to this one guy once. He sat down. He was a bit of a kind of arrogant kind of guy. And he said, can you do skin fades, mate? And I said, yeah. I said, I think so, mate. Yeah, what do you mean you think so? And at this point, I own the shop. So I was thinking, well, if I can't do skin fades, like, surely I should be able to do a skin fade by now. But I've been doing it about 15 years at this point. And then as we were getting started, he went, so you want the skin line to here and here and here? I went, yeah. I said, I just let you know, I watched this fantastic DVD last night and I was to do skin fade, so I think I can do it on you. And he shit himself. And I said to him, maybe just let me do the job, mate. I said, maybe don't ask that question anymore because it's a bit awkward for us. And he can't, it just shut him up. I didn't mean to shut him up in a horrible way. It was just like, it feels like a bit of an insult. It's an insult to me for you to ask me if I'm any good, because how am I supposed to answer that to you? What am I supposed to say?
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who would turn around unless you are that kind of way, you know, that kind of confidence in yourself that you go, oh yeah, I'm brilliant, mate. Because no one feels brilliant at anything, do they? I mean, you'll be doing this for years to come and it'll be a huge success, because I can tell it will be. You still won't think you're brilliant at it.
No, I'll always have my doubts.
Exactly. So what a stupid question to ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Get it. Totally get it.
Yeah.
Guinness Book of World Records.
Oh yeah, it's a funny one. This one.
This is mad. This. No, it's about head fall off.
Yeah.
I was like, no
It's a head
way.
fall off for me, mate, as well. To be fair.
I was like, 2019.
Bayern Munich Stadium.
Yes.
Allianz Stadium. Yeah.
Most beard trims done in 1 hour. Dan Gregory.
I know.
Unbelievable.
I know.
So,
I'll sign a clipper for you. Mate.
I want to know where the idea come from. It's such a unique. The Guinness Book of World Records, amazing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
There's so many records which you wouldn't think are achieved, and especially this is one I didn't think would.
Mate, this is more normal than the things that have been
yeah,
achieved.
it is.
How many spaghetti hoops can you stick up your nose or something? There's hundreds of things.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for such a unique achievement, and I want to know where that idea came from, and was there any preparation needed?
Yeah. Well, okay. So, in all honesty, it wasn't my idea, right?
Okay.
What happened was when I was working for Braun, we were trying to figure out things to give a bit more of a unique marketing idea, right? And someone came up with the idea was that maybe we need to look into world records, see what's been done, because we did this thing a year before where we did this thing called Gamescom, and it's in Cologne, and obviously it's very heavily German based because it's a German brand, but obviously they're a global company. But I worked there for a week in this Gamescom, and during that time I worked with a few gaming influencers, right? And we did challenges on stage, and I had to learn a few German things, and it was quite funny. And it was just like a bit of fun, a bit of tongue in cheek. So we had this one guy, and I had to do more shaves than he could score goals on the new FIFA. So I had to with the Braun shaver. So it was showing how fast you could shave, how clean you could shave, how little redness there was, or if any redness. And we had it was maybe like a 6-minute match on FIFA. I had to try and do more shaves than he could score goals, right? I won that one. Then the next one was a beard trim. I had to do more beard trims. It was a lap on one of the rally games, I think it was. And I had to see if I could do a set number of beard trims before he could do his lap. Right? I think it was like 4 beard trims or something like that. Then there was another competition. I can't remember what the other competition was, but we did it over the course of a week, every day for a week, right? So it was only half an hour or something. And that worked really, really well. It was like I think we were trending at one point on Twitter and stuff like that. And it was really, really good. And they were trying to find ways to play on that. So someone thought of the Guinness World Records. So they asked the Guinness World Records to get them down. It's quite expensive, you know. It costs a lot of money to get the Guinness World Records down to you.
How much?
It's not. I don't know how much, but I know it's thousands to get them down to you. And the beauty of it was I couldn't lose, because it hadn't been done before. So no matter what happened, I'd have got a Guinness World Records. I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
But because it was nerve-wracking, right?
Yeah.
But what they'd done was they made a big deal of it. So Braun used to sponsor Bayern Munich football team. So we did it in the Allianz Stadium. It was in the VIP area of the Allianz Stadium. And it was, the team were there, and like, it was right before they were playing Cologne, funny enough. And they'd flown in, like, these unbelievable bearded men, right? Unbelievable. Like, people who travel across the world doing beard challenges, like mustache twisting and everything, right? Now, the rules were, it had to start off at 3 centimeters. It had to be 3 centimeters or more longer to start with, and there had to be a noticeable difference at the end. So it wasn't just like me and it wasn't just what people think, going in, whipping the beard off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just doing like 100 beard trims, like mine or yours.
Yeah.
It was grooming beards. Yeah. So it was like fading them in. It was making a noticeable difference, but it had to start at 3 centimeters. So yeah, argument's sake, we could have got everyone in at 4 centimeters. I could have whipped it all off. Yeah. But there had to be differences within it, right? Yeah. They were even measuring the beards with a measuring tape before we started, right?
Unreal, that.
Exactly. So I had an hour to do this in, and there's 2 German radio presenters, and we basically just they were just commentating as I was doing it. I didn't have a clue what they were saying, so it made it even more fun because I didn't know what they were saying. It was hot. I was sweating, and then we had these guys in, and basically they were asking me for actual beard trims. So even though the clock was ticking, they're going, I want to do this with this. I want to have this faded here. I want this to be squared off. I want this to be like this. So I was doing it. I did as many as I did 9 in the end. It should have been 10. But one was disqualified because it wasn't noticeable. But the guy had hair down to his nuts, genuinely all the way down, and he didn't want much off. So I was like, "What am I supposed to do?" So anyway, I failed on him, but we did 9.
Yeah.
And then we got presented with the award, like the plaque,
Yeah.
and I went into the magazine, and I went online, and I'm still on there now. No one's beaten it yet.
Have you still got the certificate?
Yeah, it's hanging up in my shop. Yeah, of course I've.
Boss
Going down.
that,
I'm keeping that forever, mate. Even if I get beaten by somebody, I'm still keeping it because it's still a moment. The thing is, it's a bit of a history moment for me.
Yeah,
it's something I can always go back. Like my middle boy, keeps asking me to bring it home so we can take it into school. Yeah, it's quite cool. It's not how many kids can say that dad's got a Guinness World Record.
But you go back to to at the beginning, you thought you were a scally.
I was.
Yeah. But you say you're a scally.
Yeah.
From being a scally to then having a certificate, not many people have.
Yeah.
It's kind of like.
I think though, like I said to you outside, though, when you're in it, you don't see it.
Yeah.
When you write it down on paper, it sounds like you said illustrious, right?
Yeah.
But when you're living day to day, being humbled by your children, being having normal conversations with people, just driving down the dock road, stuck in traffic like everyone else, you don't feel anything. You don't feel special. Do you know what I mean? It's when other people tell you you're really good at this or you do this. Again, I don't know. I think when you live it, it's not the same, is it? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't sound the same unless it's written down.
It's a nice humbling thing to hear.
Yeah. Collaborating. Yes.
You've done a lot of collaborations with brands.
Yeah, loads, yeah.
Wilkinson Swords, Chanel speaks volumes.
Mm-hmm.
That's companies trusting your expertise.
Yeah.
So how does one approach them collaborations to make sure they align with, especially you as a barber?
Yeah.
And they want your expertise to help others. Who are on a similar path.
Yeah.
So how do you work with them collaborations to make sure they align with you?
I look at the brand who's contacting me first. So I don't just I did used to just jump at any brand, whereas now I don't. I didn't to them point to them people there, to them companies. I didn't. I always find out exactly what they want to do before I do anything. So like I'll the thing is, I'm confident enough to say no. Yeah. Because the way I see things, right, as much as I might get paid a lot of money for doing them, if they had never contacted me, I would never have had that money. So as far as I'm concerned, I try and earn enough in my day-to-day living that lets me put a roof over the kids' heads, occasionally buy nice things, have a nice holiday, whatever, right? Yeah. So anything like that, anything like a brand coming to me, the ethos has to be the same. So it has to be aligned with like, what are you trying to get out of me, and what are you trying to give back to the customer? Because I'm not going to say like, oh, this is really easy, because it's not, because I'm devaluing my industry. Like it happened in lockdown. They wanted me to cut me out. One of the brand I was working for at the time wanted me to cut my own hair, and I just said no, because I'm devaluing everything I'm doing. I trimmed it, but I didn't do a full haircut. I had to turn it down because I didn't feel comfortable doing it, because I basically felt like I was going to completely demoralise and make everybody in my industry look as though this job's easy. You don't even need to go to a hairdresser's anymore. Just buy this clipper. And I was like, I can't do that. Fortunately enough, they did. They actually accepted it. But I think I just have to look at the brand who's interested. What they're trying to get out of me. Do they want me to be honest? Do they want to hear my honesty? Because I think I'm quite honest when it comes to stuff like that. I'm quite honest with people and brands.
I think if you watch your videos and you are very honest with the person. Someone may come in to you and say, I want this, and then sometimes you have went. It's not going to work for you. 100%.
Because you've got to be honest, right? And so if I'm working for a razor brand and they're saying it's a 12-blade razor, it's better than every other razor blade, how do I promote that when I use one blade to shave someone with in the shop? So I'm going to be like, well, hang on a minute. The 12 blades really, really work that well. So I'll be like, all right, well, what's the other path? What's the other way you're going to go with this? Oh, it's convenient. All right, I can work on that. It's convenient. Yeah. I can work on convenience. So I'll read what their pitch first. If their pitch sounds like I'm going to have any sort of input on it, then I'll do it. Because I have to have input on it. Because if I don't have input on it, I'm just basically an actor.
Yeah.
And I can't do that to myself, because I've got too much integrity into my job that if I just go along with it, then whatever, what's the point? I'm just doing it for the money then, aren't I? Yeah. And I'm not a money motivated person. I never have been. It's nice to have money, but I'm not motivated by it. I'm motivated by success. Do you know what I mean? I'm motivated by the success of whatever I've done. Because money comes with success. It's not the other way around. If I'm successful with that brand, I'll earn a lot of money.
Yeah.
if I'm successful cutting hair, I'll earn a lot of money. Except, you know, it doesn't go, I'll earn loads of money, then I'll be successful. It's the other way around, isn't it?
Yeah.
So as long as I can have input, I can see a success coming from it. There's a success story from this particular advertisement or this particular series of advertorials or whatever it might be. Then I'll do it. I think I'm just very happy to say no.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's helped me. I think that's why I'm comfortable working with the brands that I work with, because what have I got to lose? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I completely get that. So we spoke about everything that's led up to where we are today.
Yeah.
Which is Regal Gentleman.
Yeah.
And it's made massive. If anyone's not seen it, go and have a look on YouTube. Regal Gentleman. It's on TikTok and
all the same handle.
Yeah, it's all the same handle.
Yeah.
It's really made big waves.
Yeah, it really has.
It has. You know, what do you think the key is to your success on them platforms?
Raw. We're raw. We don't sugarcoat anything, mate. Like we try and take you from start to finish with very little editing. Right? The only editing we do is to shorten it down for people's attention span.
Yeah.
Based on what we know. People don't watch YouTube videos for longer than an hour. People don't watch YouTube videos for longer than 40 minutes sometimes. But we've never looked at our competition. We've never looked at other people doing it, right? There's another company that's been doing it exactly the same time as us, and they've got well over 1 million subscribers now. We're at 300, and I think to date we're at like 313,000 subscribers now. So if we'd have been more consistent, we'd have reached that level.
Yeah. But
for us, it's not about just doing it for the sake of doing it. It's about keeping the consistency we're talking about.
Yeah.
We've always kind of, I feel like people relate to us really well. I think people relate to the fact that we're not trying to be something we're not. You know what I mean? Nothing's changed. If you watch it from the very first video to now, the only thing we've added in is a consultation. I think the consultation's been a big part of that, because people can see how I go from A to B and end up at C. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that's what's really helped. But I think we've just not changed. We've just been the same from when we started. It's still me and Liam. I'm cutting hair. We still give free haircuts away to random people. We don't pick models out. We don't hand pick the good looking guy or the long haired guy. We just people email or join the waiting list. We hand pick them randomly. We give them a free haircut. We go from there. We've got Josh behind the scenes who calms me and Liam down from being a bit too wild on our vision. But essentially, it's me and Liam. It's Liam with the camera, me behind the chair, a guy in the chair. There's no massive production costs. We don't even use a light anymore. We used to have a light box. Don't even use one of them anymore. just use the seat as it is, and position the lamp so it looks nice. And I think that's what people just relate to it more. I feel like I don't know whether people relate to me because I'm honest, maybe as well. I'm not trying to blow smoke up.
No, what I think it is.
Go on.
You always started the video the same.
Do I?
You always welcome someone and say, "What can I do for you?"
Oh yeah.
Wait after.
Yeah, I do.
It's back to that consistency.
That's nerves, though. That, you know.
Yeah, but I think the nerves also helps you. You know, it's a consistent start to a video. So I know now, and giving an intro, people get used to it, and then how I end the podcast. Yeah. You know, as people listen to it, there'll be a similar trend, so they'll know to expect it. Yeah. So whenever I watch Regal Gentleman, I'll know you go, welcome. So say for me, welcome Dan. What brings you to the chair? Yeah. That's what you say.
What I say is, so what's the plan then, man? What are we doing?
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah, I know. So can I ask you a question?
Go on.
What makes you watch our videos?
Right. So
roles reversed here now, mate.
So I'm dead self-conscious on my hair.
Okay.
Hence why I wear a cap a lot. It goes back to, it probably goes back to school. What people used to say about my hair. I've never really spoke about it. People used to really get at me about my hair. And people still, as a joke, and today still do. They go, you're gonna lose your hair. Then I look at them and go, you've only known me for 5 fucking minutes. You know what I mean? Like
instant judgment.
Yeah. I've always had a high hairline.
Yeah.
I've always had quite a big forehead.
Yeah.
And I've learned to go, all right, sound, I'm not asked for that. I've got very fine, pointy, straight hair. I know that. It's hard for me to style my hair. Yeah. But people still want to pick on it. And I go, you are fucking belly. You know what I mean? You don't even know. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. If I really wanted to do something with it, I'll come see you. Yeah. Because I know I could go, Dan, can you sort my hair out? And you go, come see me. You know what I mean? No problem.
Yeah, definitely.
But I've chose to go, you know what? It must fucking wind you. It must wind someone up that much to comment on it all the time. they must think, you know, it make me feel better. And I go, you know what? It makes you feel better. Whatever.
It's like real life trolling, though, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
like
it's
we've
like,
got the same, but we've got the same on the channel. We've got the same people who constantly troll us, who call us like, oh, that's shit, or you could have, you could have done that better. There's a line in there. There's this, and you know what? It's like I say to myself, like, okay, if you're in my position, you're under pressure. You've got a camera there. You've got one shot to do this in. You tell me, I can't put the hair back on. So yeah, it's okay to watch a video and then critique it, saying, "Well, I'd have done this and I'd have done this and I'd have done that." But when you're there with a real human being, who's you're having a one-to-one conversation with, we'd all do things differently.
Massive.
Hindsight. There's videos I watch and I'm like, yeah, I probably could have, maybe should have left his hair a bit longer on that one, looking back. But at the time, it felt right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's very easy to critique it. It's very easy for people to judge and point out your hair and all that. But I find a lot of times people are miserable with themselves. That's why it's like when you're, what do they say? Hair people hurt people.
Yeah.
Right? When you're feeling low, self-conscious, angry, whatever, what do? You hurt somebody else. You take it out on somebody else. So that's why the people are doing that to you.
I'd say how it affected me more is when I started going out to town when I was 18.
Yeah.
And seeing lads with, like, I call it the Gerard hairline.
Yeah.
Gerard's hairline's super
Hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed.
No.
And he's always had a good solid head of hair. It's always... And I always see lads like that and I'd be like, what a bird. When I was single, the girl's going to go for him.
Yeah.
They're going to go for him, not going to look at me
Based
with a
on your
shit
hairline.
hairline. And then I look back and go, you absolute... Because my girlfriend now is stunning.
Yeah.
Like, and I go, you are a tit. Like, and I know what, to be fair to her, she's great. She always says to me, she goes, your hair's fine.
Yeah.
Because I've always said, oh, fuck it. When I'm on a downer, say I've had a bad day in work and stuff's eating at me, I go, oh, fuck, I'm going to Turkey to get my hair and my teeth done. And she goes, shut up, knobhead.
So that's the thing that you go back to. So that's the thing that you always go back to when you're having a shit day, is like
me, the way I look.
Yeah.
Yeah, that eats at me.
So does everyone.
Yeah.
Everybody does the same thing.
But you think it's only you. You think it's only you. Yeah. And it just goes back. You think, don't it? I'm glad we spoke about this, because it's like, it's a thing that not enough people talk about.
No.
I never had... It goes back to people who had spots. Who had really bad acne.
Yeah.
And again, they have the scarring from the skin and that. I don't look at the positives. I never really had it as a teenager. I know my brother won't mind me mentioning it. He had really bad acne. And he had really bad scarring from the acne. And it was horrible to see his brother, that having a massive...
debilitating for some people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now, he's on the other side of that now, and he's a very fit lad. Goes to the gym. And I think that having that may have drove him to get into shape. Because he had that and he had that experience.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
men don't talk in general, though, mate. Like, no. I mean, we
this is going to lead on to, like, at the end I'm going to mention, we're going to have another episode about this, because there's a massive story behind Dan, which people don't know. It looks all like...
Not in depth, anyway.
Not in depth. And you're prepared to talk about it, which I think is an honour for the channel. So we are going to have another sit down with Dan and talk about it, because it's a subject to me and Dan which is very personal. And we want to just have a bit more light onto that. But that'll be another episode, and I think that'll be a really good episode to talk about. And I'm really appreciative of you wanting to talk about that.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Yeah, 100%.
So we're going to look back on your journey. Would you change anything?
No.
Why?
Because I wouldn't be sitting here right now with you, would I? If I changed one thing...
Why do you think people, from the experiences that you've had, why do you think people are always obsessed with wanting to change stuff?
Hindsight. I think you always think...
I think it's the need for more. I think people always think... I think people aren't happy with what they've got and always want more, instead of looking back and going, you know what, I've actually done all right for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that's human nature. We always want what we... I mean, why does Jeff Bezos still work?
He just wants more money.
Why does Elon Musk still work?
Yeah.
Like, why would these people who gained so much success and wealth, why are they still at work? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same. Like, I wouldn't change anything, because I don't feel like it would. I don't know what more would it change in my life? You know what I mean? I'm healthy. I've got 3 healthy children. I earn enough money to be able to live in a nice way. Not in a not in a ridiculous way, but like
Yeah.
in a nice way that I can walk into a shop in town, buy clothes, and not worry about it.
Yeah.
That's the point. I wouldn't go in and buy a Lamborghini, but you know what I mean. I can go in and buy like a new pair of jeans, pair of New Balance trainers, and not worry about it.
Yeah.
That's I think that's most people nowadays. But
Yeah.
so what would the change?
Yeah.
Nothing would change.
Great.
Mm.
Have you ever done a bad haircut?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. I was wondering when this was going to come. I just had a feeling this would come, you know. I would say my bad haircut experience, I would say, is I bought these clippers, right? They're by a brand called Wall, right? Back in the day when I used to work in town in Liverpool, it was all about like they had this clipper head that was a texturizing clipper head, right, on this attachment. Right, it was like an attachment clipper head. And what you do is you take the the regular sawtooth blade off and attach this texturizing blade, and it was massive. It was all on stage shows. They were using it to texturize hair. So I followed the trend. I bought the clipper. I bought the accessory, which is the texturizing blade, and I wanted to try it out. So really busy day in work. I've got these new clippers. I've been using the blade on and off. I've been taking the regular blade off to do like your fade, switching to the texture blade, and then you're flicking through the hair, and it just cuts hair at different lengths, essentially, right? That really heavily texturized look. So I forgot to change the blade. So I had just the regular cutting blade. That takes it to a 0. And I picked it up right at the guy's crown, picked it up, I went, phew, and I whipped the whole top off. But you know what I did? I disguised it and said it's just texture.
And he believed you?
And he came back and came back and came back. To this day, I've never told him. Didn't feel he needed to know. It didn't change anything. So what's he need to know for? But yeah, I'd say that's one of the worst ones. And you know, as every person says, I've cut people's ears as well. I've done that before.
Yeah.
Everyone does.
You learn from your mistakes.
Everyone does. It is just a lack of concentration sometimes.
So as a tradition, can you give us a quote that you live by every day or has some personal meaning to you?
Yes. Say, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Boss.
I say that every morning when I wake up.
Love that.
Yeah.
So any socials that people need to follow? What do you follow?
Yeah. So we've got, obviously, the Regal Gentleman one is at Regal Gentleman on all platforms. My one is Dan Gregory Hair. I mainly use personally Instagram and TikTok. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate that, and this won't be the last time we see.
No, man, that'd be
obviously,
great.
because there'll be a future episode, like we mentioned, which is
Yeah.
going to really speak about things that we need to talk about as men.
I agree.
Yes.
Massively. Well, thank you very much for having me on, mate.
No, very
Thanks
pleasure.
for the intro.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So, thank you for joining us on the Local Lad podcast. Don't forget to follow us all on all of the apps, TikTok, YouTube, under all one handle at the Local Lad podcast. Until next time, remember that greatness can be found right in our community. Stay inspired, stay curious, and stay tuned to the Local Lad podcast. Thank you.